You're at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for Guistino, who says, rant about Mage on the Procrastinators podcast and whether or not you think her inclusion is good for business. Personally, I find myself sighing whenever I hear her being introduced on the podcast. She hardly says anything, and when she does, it's always incredibly uninteresting and boring. Or she derails the conversation into talking about inane and, again, uninteresting shit like her dreams or some other boring shit. She's also cut many great political discussions between Ben and Nate short by bitching about how she doesn't want to hear it. I mean, for what it's worth. Who does? Bitch, your friends are trying to make an entertaining show and you're just sitting there drawing/not giving a shit about entertaining the audience. If you want to talk to your friends, then do it while a show isn't being recorded. Sorry for the rant, I just don't think Mage deserves a penny for being on the podcast. Would love to hear your opinion, though. P.S. If this topic is too awkward or harsh for you to cover, which I totally get, then rant about JPEGMAFIA. I feel like JPEGMAFIA deserves its own separate rant, but I probably will rant about that mostly. I mean, the thing about the PCP is that everybody has their favorite member and the member who they hate. Like, there's a lot of people who cannot stand Munchie, who think that, like, he ruins the podcast, who think that he, they can't stand to hear him yell and be, hyperactive. But then there's other people who are only there for Munchie, who are there because of his cult of personality, because of the unique creative works that he brings to the table, his youth, his very humanist perspective. And, there's pretty much some, people who feel that way about every member of the PCP. We all have our haters, we all have our lovers, and, there are commenters who love Mage, who think that she's one of their favorites, who see her as, sort of a voice of reason, or at least a voice of, who want someone to stop Nate and Ben from having their political arguments. So, I can appreciate both sides. If we're talking about this from a business standpoint, then it's I don't know, if we were losing a lot of money and people were telling us you need to kick Mage, repeatedly. I mean, obviously you feel that way, but, we also do get errant comments like that about everyone. If there was, an overwhelming amount, maybe we would see it as a business thing. But, the PCP isn't really run like a business anyways. It's mostly just an excuse for us to talk. It's just a way to get all of our friends in a situation where we can have conversations once a week. So I don't even think if we thought kicking somebody would be good for business that we would do that. So yeah, I think that if we're talking about it from a business standpoint, I can't really say that any one member is more or less detrimental to our business as the PCP, but, Mage has been there since the beginning. She's a part of the culture of it. She clearly has her fans, so, I'd say she's earning her keep in those senses. Well, that's only 3 minutes? Alright, JPEGMAFIA. I'm a big fucking fan of his most recent album, Veteran. I do admittedly struggle with some of his previous music. Him shitting on Death Grips on Black Ben Carson. What the fuck, man? JPEGMAFIA, what I love about him is that he's a provocateur. He's out to piss off everybody. He is, even-handed in his he's hyper political and hyper opinionated, but definitely not on anybody's side. And, very much I have my set of beliefs and things that I stand up for. I do not care who aligns with that. I'm just going to be very upfront with how I feel and fuck everybody. And the music behind that is fantastic. His production is so intricate and so, so detailed. Most hip-hop music, to make a hip-hop beat, all you really have to do is take a sample of a drum loop and a sample of a melody line and put them together. And, you can do things to each of them and insert variables throughout the song to mix it up or put in multiple layers of things and, or you could build it entirely from scratch. But, for the most part, it's about, creating a loop of some kind and looping it, over and over with slight variations. JPEGMAFIA, it feels like he builds his songs like how you would build a rock song, where every note is considered. Even more intimate than a rock song. Cause a lot of those are just a riff, just like they're following a structure of riff, switching between different riffs. His songs will, have radically different sounds going on in each section. Even if there is kind of a beat going through the song, that beat will change so often, and there's just so much happening in his music. So many unique sounds, so many weird samples and sound bites pulled from seemingly everywhere. So much musical history and knowledge all combined into this thing, and you're gonna hear sounds you will never hear in another song, structures you will never get from any other rapper. His lyrics are fun. He's got a pretty tight flow, pretty good voice. I would say he's pretty much a nearly S tier rapper. I think he's a few projects away from me being able to say that he's like a god, but he's definitely fucking exceptional and extremely talented, and somebody who, I really respect the amount of effort he puts into his stuff. So there you go. There's a rant about both Mage and JPEGMAFIA in just 6 minutes. How does he do it?